something I've been thinking about a lot is how I I've never worked a full 40-hour job before. I've never had full-time employment, and it's something that I haven't necessarily realized until recently. Shout out to therapy in helping me process this. I didn't realize how much of an intention this path of mine has been. You know, I've definitely had periods in my life where I work 40 hours cumulatively, but never have I worked somewhere that demanded me to show up for work 40 hours a week. I've had jobs where I'm working in odd hours as well as just like on the weekends, but I haven't actually experienced that grind. And really, I think today I wanted to talk about choice and more specifically my choices and how this has become a reality for me. Disclaimer, there has been a good amount of luck on my side, but I don't want to discount my own like intentions and strategic moves that I've made. And so I think a lot of what has afforded me this opportunity and this lifestyle is intention. And so to set the backdrop for my lifestyle, I do work at a college. I'm an educator by trade, and I work in the community college. And in the community college, you work either as a full-time instructor or a part-time instructor. And when you're part-time, you're essentially like freelance, contract-based, and so you don't get the amenities of like guaranteed work every semester, but you do get more off time, and you get like the school schedule, obviously, of like weekends or like 3-day weekends and summer breaks and all that. Um, and so for me, I went into college not wanting to be a cog in the machine. I looked at business, which was a major I was considering, or just kind of making that business route. I looked at that as like really bad. And I looked at it as with disdain because I didn't want to be a cog in the machine. That was like a quote that I always ran through my head. It's like, nah, I don't want to be a cog. I don't want to like actualize somebody else's dream. And although I am currently, because school is a business and they're in the business of recruiting and retaining students. So there is like a cog aspect, right? Where I'm just translating institutional policies in an effort to help people persist. And it's not as bad for me because there is a people element and I get to help folks and I get to help people actualize their dreams. However, I've through my master's in counseling, I loved counseling. I love interacting with folks on an individual level and being able to kind of help them think through their problems. But beyond that, or after my master's, I did a PhD in education. And in that process, COVID happened. And in the middle of COVID, I'm taking a class online. And on one window, I have my stats class, and the other window, I have the LA protest. Fairfax is on fire. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? As well as a global pandemic like occurring in the back. My whole time I'm just like, what is the point of all of this? And that's when I really started to have like an existential crisis in a sense of just like, what do I want to spend every day doing? I knew that I didn't love the academic route. I didn't love even the full-time counselor route of just like going to the same place every day. Like the idea of having a lifetime of routine is like crippling. And I just didn't want that. And I rejected that at all costs. And so during that program, during my PhD, I started to explore alternative options outside of academia. And I'm obviously still, if you don't know, in a PhD program, you have to write a dissertation, which is basically conducting a study. And so I intentionally chose to study something that I was interested in hopes of getting more skills, building my network, and just having a better understanding of a field that I'm already inclined towards. And so for me, again, during COVID, I'm like, well, what do I like to do? I'm on the video game. I'm on YouTube. I am on Twitch. I am like really engulfed in this internet world for pleasure as well as for education. And I realized that In a counselor setting, you can only see so many students in a day. As a professor, you're only going to get so many students per semester, and you get more time with them, but you're teaching a very specific thing, and sometimes they just don't want to be there. And I hate teaching classes when there's students who don't want to be there. It just like kind of like pisses me off. And so for me, it was like I did my research on esports, on college esports. So I found like a little pocket that hadn't been researched very well, and I found, and within that pocket is also catering to my interests. So for research, I get to watch League of Legends, I get to watch streamers and read about video games, take classes on video games. Like that was sick. And so during that process, I actually became so because I wasn't doing the academic path, I had to think about, well, what's life professionally? What's life going to be like after this degree? And it became very clear that I probably wasn't going to use my degree in a traditional way. And that was a tough realization because I'm going down a non-beaten path. I was going down a path that nobody in my program had really explored extensively. So I didn't have a roadmap as to what to do. And so from there, I was intentional about uh, making relationships with folks in different fields. So I took classes in the games department, got super lucky. USC has a crazy games department. That's where League of Legends started. That's where the Riot founders graduated from. So there's a strong video game connection. And long story short, I was able to get a job as a personal assistant. And so I actually ended up working for Courage. Shout out to the boy Courage, as his personal assistant. And so part of that choice was to swallow my pride to a certain extent and work for less than my value, less than my worth. At that point, I had a master's and I was in a PhD program. So what the hell is a person like me doing, ordering somebody's flights, making dinner arrangements, picking up their dog from the groomers, just doing like really like menial labor stuff. But for me, it was a net positive and an opportunity because now I get to be in the room with really famous people who are successful at their craft. Emphasis on successful at their craft. The fact that they're famous is like cool at first, but like they're just fucking people. And so it was cool to be able to meet Ninja, Tim the Tap Man, Dream, Nade Shot, like really big heavy hitters in the gaming industry. I'm in the rooms with. I'm in the VIP. I'm in like the closed section. I had access. Um, and so that through that experience, it really exposed me to what was possible with YouTube. It really exposed me to the reach that somebody could have to see how someone could be themselves on camera and impact somebody else's life. That to me cemented this kind of just like uneasy. It helped me realize that I could reach more people by building an audience online, by sharing my thoughts online. I could make the impact that I've been seeking my whole life. And unfortunately, I was let go. And that was a learning experience because I don't think I capitalized on the opportunity as much as I could have. I think I kind of allowed myself to not be as, take as much initiative as I could have. And that was a learning lesson because it did catch me by surprise. But nonetheless, ever since that experience, I've been really enthralled with this idea of YouTube. And I say enthralled, but that also has still does have a lot of fear wrapped up into it. And so after I got let go, I had the opportunity. So let me take a step back. So when I got hired, because I'm a contractor, I would be hired as a contractor. They basically created a business for me. They created an LLC for me. And that was another dream that I always kind of saw myself as like, I'm probably going to be an entrepreneur of some sort. And so when I got let go, they were like, yo, like you can either keep it or you can just like let it go and just like not renew it. And so for me, it was like, okay, well now this is an opportunity for me to choose to pursue this dream or vision of mine that wasn't present before. And so what I did is I decided to keep the LLC and invest in a camera. I got a credit card using my EIN, which is like your business social security essentially. So I got a fresh line of credit, and now I had skin in the game. And so for me, that was huge because I'm the type of person to not be the most proactive when it comes to getting things done. I unfortunately operate uh, from a place of avoiding consequence as opposed to pursuing positive results or rewards. Uh, we'll talk about that later, maybe, but that is like an underlying theme that I've just realized is part of who I am. And so I bought the camera and bought the gear. I've dropped hella money, like basically maxed out the credit card. And the intention was, again, the choice was to invest, to spend my money on something that could make me money. And I'm not like a real big product guy. I don't want to make an app. I don't even necessarily want to scale my business super crazy. I just want to be free. And that was like the core motive behind my intentions is I just don't want to be a slave to routine. I don't want to be going to the same school for the next 40 years. I don't want to live for retirement. That's not what I want to do. I see that as like a futile goal. There's too many examples of people working their fucking ass off only to retire and then be too old and beat up to enjoy their retirement. I'm cool. I'm trying to enjoy life now. And working as a personal assistant, I saw people my age living their life to the fullest. And now, granted, these are the top 0.1% um, of all creators, but nonetheless, it showed me what's possible. And that was the motivation behind getting the camera. And through that, I started posting more online. I got gigs from posting stuff online. I've talked about that on here before. Um, Social media is a double-edged sword that can break you down mentally, but it can also provide an immense number of opportunities, and I'm living proof of that. And so what that meant was in the middle of my PhD program, or towards the end, around 2023, I'm freelancing video editing, freelance video, like event photos. I did headshots. I just said yes to everything. Um, and then I graduated, and then bills became an issue because during my program, that was essentially my job. I was getting paid as a PhD student. And so once that dried up is where my momentum really slowed down because I had to work. And I got fortunate to be able to get a job at counseling, which is where I left. The exact school that I left to pursue my PhD, I came back to. So coming back, I felt really not good. I felt like I had like taken a step back, like coming back to the place that I said I didn't want to be at, felt like I regressed, and that kind of slowed down my output a little bit. Um, and then, I was in a relationship and we were like kind of moving very quickly, and she was very supportive, but I'm a very fear oriented person, so I'm just like not really giving the internet my all. But nonetheless, my gardening videos kind of popped off. One of them popped off on IG, and then I was like, well, I guess I'm doing gardening stuff now for my own channel. Um, and I was consistent for a couple of months, and then my relationship started to not go great, and then that just severely impacted my commitment to recording videos, to tending to my garden. Um, and there's a couple other things, but the main point that I wanted to bring up is that um, I work part time. I make pretty good money for where I work. The work to money ratio is excellent. I'm not a baller by any means. I'm 60, 70K, like nothing crazy. But I only work 3 days a week, and I have so much more free time to pursue other things that I'm interested in, like content, as well as chilling. And that's where I've kind of struggled is like, I've had a lot of off days where I've done nothing. And part of me is, up until recently, I felt really guilty about that. And recently, through therapy, I've realized that this was all part of the plan. The plan was always to have freedom. The plan was always to choose when I want to work. And I'm actually doing that. Not fully, but considering the way that capitalism works, I'm doing a pretty damn good job. And that feels really weird to say, but that's something I'm trying to own. and share with you in hopes of maybe providing an alternative perspective to what work is like, but also making it very clear to you that it's not easy. Pursuing the unbeaten path is extremely scary if you're somebody who prefers certainty, which most people do. I'm an overthinker. Because of my PhD program, I realize what an expert looks like. I understand what it takes to become an expert. Because of working with Courage and seeing high level streamers, I understand the type of commitment and consistency that's required to reach those levels. And so seeing myself not live up to those realities, it hurt me more than it helped. It made me feel like less motivated to work as opposed to like lighting a fire under my ass to work harder. So the unbeaten path, it requires intention with who you surround yourself with, what you spend your money on, whether you're investing, spending on experiences, how you spend your time, the skills that you're learning along the way. One of the advantages of pursuing content for me is like, well, if my channels don't work, by the end of it, I'll know editing, I'll understand social media strategy, I'll understand marketing essentially. I understand like color grading, there's audio, you add in streaming, now there's that aspect. There's so many other skills that I've learned along the way just by pursuing video creation. And so I think it's important to be strategic with the path that you choose in a way that if you don't reach the goal that you're seeking, the process towards that goal leaves you in a better place than when you started, leaves you with more skills, leaves you with a more broad network of folks that you can learn from, tap into, as well as like another set of experiences that you can then pivot or like kind of like translate into the next venture. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just a kid from the valley. I moved 11 times, 11 or 12 times from kindergarten to 12th grade. Low income, first generation, first in my family to go to college, first in my family to get an advanced degree, let alone two. And I say that because where I come from, that's not normal. The people that I grew up with, that's not a norm. I'm definitely not like I'm not one of one by any means, but I have my feet, I have my hands in so many different pots when it comes to like socioeconomic status, when it comes to like prestigious jobs, income levels, perspectives on life, constraints on life. I've been exposed to all walks of life, it feels like. By going to college, you see what the rich experience looks like. By growing up, I understand what it's like to live in the hood, right? And so for me, it's really important to be able to give back because I am a product of people who poured into me. And this is why I chose to start this new channel that is a little bit more transparent with what I'm going through, what I've been through, and how I'm trying to move towards my goals. Because at the end of the day, um, so much of life is like genetic lottery. It's who you're born to, the situation that you're kind of the cards that you're dealt. But I do believe to a certain extent, everybody has agency in how they um, maintain or increase their life's fulfillment and purpose. Um, and that's what drew me to education is like I got out and I was like, bro, this shit is fire. Berkeley is smoking. Like, you telling me I can live on my own, I can be around people who are my same age, we can party, we can work hard. Everybody around me is trying to be like fucking president or doctor, lawyer, like all the prestigious bullshit, working in Silicon Valley, starting startups. Like, that to me is so cool to be around like an ambitious collection of people that I feel like if more people were around that, they would likely rise to a higher version of themselves, as opposed to where I come from, where working just like any old job is just what you do. You're just kind of like fighting to make ends meet. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think if given the choice, Most people wouldn't pick that. They're not opting into that. A lot of the times what happens is folks have kids and that locks them down. People get into relationships and they're not clear with who they are. People get into relationships early, and because you're young and you don't necessarily know what you want for your life, their life becomes your life. And now you're living to actualize the collective family unit stream as opposed to yours. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think enough people consider the alternative to work on your own, to live on your own, to be single, to enjoy going out by yourself, to not have kids, to not aspire for marriage. These are all things that I think our generation, my zillennial generation, is becoming more normalized to, but it's by no means a like really set precedent, I feel. So this video is starting to get kind of long, so I'll just wrap it up by saying some of the choices that I've made are really around the people you surround yourself with, the pursuit of not a destination but a journey, and the skills and experiences that come along with that, being intentional with your choices, being intentional with your money. The book I Will Teach You to Be Rich, I love and I gift often because it helped me create a system for budgeting. I was making $2,500 a month in grad school. Okay, I've been broke my entire fucking life, and yet I've been able to travel. I'm able to go to shows. My credit score is good, and again, there's been some luck along the way. This house has been lucky, but this was fairly recent, and so up until that point, I've just made sacrifices in accordance with my goals, my values. And I don't think many people can say that. And that's what I'm starting to own a little bit more. And I hope that for you, as you're maybe later in life, early in life, hopefully you start to consider, what is your happy life? What does a happy life look like to you? Not a single day, but the day to day. What things are present? What types of work are you doing? Are you looking forward to work? Are you going on trips? Are you eating out all the time? I don't know. Whatever it is for you, I don't know why eating out came up. But, um, for me, some of those things are changing, but for the most part, it stays the same. I want to be able to make good money and have free time and be able to do what I want during that free time. And hopefully you got something out of this. Like, share, like, share, and subscribe, I suppose. Peace.